What's going on YouTube? It's your boy Paul-Octave Hebach, or Byron Varvel in the real world, doing another article analysis video where I am going to videograph this, and this is for SCC 352, Student Diversity. And the title of this article is As Diversity Grows, So Must We. Very much agree with this theme. And the author is Mr. Gary R. Howard wrote this. I do not know any of his background information, his alma mater, or what influenced him to get into education. You can go on his personal page and look up more of his biography. Excuse me. But I just really don't know a lot about this guy. He's kind of secretive, so I mean, you can Google him and find out what you want to know. Mr. Howard, if you have a YouTube and if you use it often, just use the comment section below, to comment more about yourself. We'd love to know more about you and your career. This is a very good article, and I'm going to just break it down for you. Mr. Howard felt like it was important to conduct this study because he sees that in many American schools, teachers and school leaders are not prepared to deal with the huge multi-diverse qualities that are pulling into the average school in the current day and climate that we live in. He also felt motivated to conduct this research because many teachers are not growing into the multi-diverse mentality, as well as an elementary scholastic one that is needed for the new kid that globalization is giving us here in the United States. He also wants to see if there is empirical information that will help us bring down negative or uneasy feelings over multi-diverse students or class situations in general. The main purpose of this article was to see that if data collected from a few schools will allow teachers to re-examine their teaching regimens or to detract from policies that will lead to failure, or mediocrity, not only from educators themselves but also towards students themselves. In short, the paper was written to give out transformational tips to less culturally savvy teachers or those who have little experience outside of high-class suburban white Anglo-Saxon Protestant backgrounds. Some key questions that the author addressed, in my opinion, were: how do we build trust in students who are linguistically, ethnically, or sociologically different from us? How come inequities are not a function of intentional discrimination, whether for the most part or for the whole part? How do all educators universally build new competencies and pedagogies to successfully engage a changing population in classrooms? What causes white teachers to have their own cultural connections and unique personal narratives to become legitimate aspects of the overall mix of school diversity? How do these causes influence school diversity in general? What are the best solutions to foster non-judgmental and inclusive strategies within schools in a positive manner? How do teachers who have little cultural competence build more of it when they are outside of university properly? How do we as teachers develop and sentimentalize auras of personal culture within our classrooms and also within unique students in themselves? How do we scholastically define and comprehend the sociological concepts of dominance and justice in the educational setting? Do systems of privilege and preference exist in schools? And if so, how do we restructure these to build more inclusivity towards the majority of our students? What are the best methods to inspire, sustain, and inform teachers about the sociological dynamics of education? And lastly, what kind of courage or psychological emotiveness is necessary to unravel the unfairness of bad situations for marginalized students? The methods used to answer their key questions was that the author looked at a multicultural situation at London County schools. Stop for a minute. I don't know where London County schools are. I guess they're a school system in Maryland or in the District of Columbia area, somewhere in that area of the country. You can Google it and learn more about that. I don't know where they are or what motivated them to have this study, but feel free to learn more about that in your own time. What was going on in their schools, and they examined the following criteria using a teacher leader think tank known as a Culture Responsive Team, or CRT for short. They engaged in a unique sense of diverse instructional transformation, such as they built relationships based on authenticity and caring for their students. They built their curricula that honor culture and life experience, the differences between all of these. They used pedagogical plans to meet diverse student needs. They communicated respect for each student's intelligence level. And lastly, they held high and consistent standards for all their learners in their classroom. Basically, educators had to reach out and put their hearts into their students and stop playing the blame and shame game with parents or students that they may have disfavored, and they weaned off using the exclusive bubble that many teachers have built for certain students in their classroom settings. The most important information in this article is that it brought out a major theme that modern teachers need to ascend to, which is that equitable and inclusive mindedness are coherent to what it means to be a good teacher, and these principles, along with being culturally competent, separates the first-rate teacher from the second-rate teacher. The results of these objectives, if they are recognized and are attempted in a real setting, which they were in London County schools, were that pass rates increased in math by 21% and in language arts they increased by 20%. Both of these were on average. Also, studies show that having a CRT or culture responsive team in schools closed the achievement gap by 10 points in language arts and 6 points in math. However, how achievement gap was quantified and studied, I did not know. The article did not take the initiative to explain that. But you can Google how achievement gap is quantified and studied empirically, but I don't know how that is. I don't know anything about that, so just Google how achievement gap is, studied empirically and all that jazz. So these statistics show us that showing equity, inclusivity, and having a cultural responsive team to build cultural competence is working in our schools, and that it is promising. The main inferences or conclusions in this article are sociological awareness is weak among European American teachers, and as such must be built up by this, because 90% of all teachers that go into education are white teachers. So that's self-explanatory. The entire school community must embrace cultural competency along with providing equity and justice towards weak and downtrodden students. This includes caring about personal culture and building auras of strong trust within their students. I agree with both of these. European American scholastic leaders need to have grown, need to grow with the changing face of education. Also need to have more open-mindedness and start to think of their school as everyone's school rather than their school. If we take this line of reasoning seriously, the implications are teachers need to be caring, foster great equity, and provide a sense of belonging for their students. And there must be a congruency in the discussion that they have with their students in the schools to weed out negative circumstances, and American education as a whole needs to be more inclusive to the needs outside of the Anglophone Christian world. Without this feeling in the classroom, schooling will be cynical and unkind to many students who need to have that sense of fitting in inside their schools. The 5 themes, I'm going to scroll down right here to show you what the themes are. Building trust, engaging personal culture, confronting issues of social dominance and social justice, transforming instructional practices, and engaging the entire school community are a must within the schools. Because honestly, if we take this seriously, if teachers don't understand what culture and society are, and the subtopics that go along with that, and truly are, and they lack the proper training, they're just going to dawdle unwittingly in their own ignorance, and students will feel alienated and ostracized who aren't from WASP backgrounds in the classroom. And all students need to have warmth and acceptance inside the classroom as a must. If grades are going to get high, if our schools are going to get better, if our graduation rates are going to go up, if our test scores are going to go up, this is a must. That is needed, and it cannot be compromised within the educational setting. That's basically all I have for Mr. Howard's diversity video. If you have any questions or comments, leave them in the comment section below. I'd love to hear back from you, especially if you're in SCC 352. I'd love to hear back from you, and that's about all I had for this video. So this is Paul-Octave Hebert signing out, or Bombard on the Real World. Have a good day, everybody.